Today I'm going to be replacing both of the control arms on this 2008 Mazda 5. So what I did, my jack didn't want to fit underneath the side skirt there, so I drove it up, see some wooden ramps, and consequently I've now placed an axle stand so we can get into these bolts here. So before we start disassembly, I'm just going to treat these two open threads to a bit of penetrating fluid, and we may as well spray in this area for good measure and do the other side, not forgetting the ball joint. So I've got a 19mm bolt to loosen. We can just about get in there with the breaker bar just to make life a little easier, and we've got this one turning nicely, so we'll just do the rest with a ratchet. See, it's a bit close to the plastics, but I don't really want to remove the under tray unless I'm forced to. And we can quite easily get the breaker bar in with a 17mm socket for the other side. I'll just loosen those off for now, I'll not withdraw them. So I've just been cautiously working this 15mm nut back and forth for the ball joint. I just don't want to shear it at this stage. I know these nuts are often rusted in, so we keep spraying it with a penetrating fluid, and we're going to nurse this one off hopefully. So I've got the bolt turning, keep chucking a bit of penetrating fluid in up there, but it's getting freer. It's still quite stiff, and after a bit of persistence it yielded. I actually left the nut just about where it is now so I could get a chisel in and give it a good whack with a lump hammer. I also temporarily reinstated this bolt just to make things a bit more solid. So with a bit of wiggling and taking great care not to overstretch the CV boot, we've now liberated this from the vehicle, with the exception of the ball joint. So we get a few smart taps with a hammer. So we'll compare the old with the new, and they are in fact handed. And the good news is I do have a pair in the box, as I never really checked. I should have checked that beforehand. So we've just got the bump stop to swap over onto the new part. So I spent quite a bit of time cleaning this bolt. That goes in this groove here in the ball joint, and I think the others are passable. I'll probably put a bit of copperies on them, help the next person out, which could well be me. These have a 2-year warranty, so hopefully we're going to get at least 2 years out of them, hopefully a lot longer. Well, that's one side done, and there is a very specific way of doing it, which I'm going to show you as I've just devised it. I'm now refitting the other side, and what I want to show you is how I did it, as this is the bit I know a lot of YouTubers will skip, and it's not going to be easy to film, so do bear with me. So first up, I'm actually working on the driver's side in the UK, so the right side of the vehicle. Get the 19mm head bolt in, just loose. You're not going to fully start the thread, that's not going to happen yet. I tend to use this rubber hammer just to make little tiny adjustments to it and align it how I see fit. Alternatively, you could use a steel hammer and a block of wood, but I do like my rubber hammer. So next up, we take a pry bar, and you can see how I've got it, and then we lever up. I'm just going to take a bit of force, but not too much, and that should enable you. You need to get it more or less level. That should enable you to start that thread. that is assuming that you've put that more or less in position. Take one of the bolts for that side and securely get it at least. You want to be. You will not start that nut, but it wants to be in there somewhere. Okay, that's the hardest bolt to start. When I've got that started, you might have to get in there with a hammer. I've got 2 bolts in that now, not just one, and I seem to make some progress when I just move this with my knee just to give it a little jiggle. So the next 2 I'm going to attempt to do simultaneously. So we're going to remove that cover and locate the ball joint roughly, and then we've got a block of wood, and we're going to jack that up with the bolts in situ so everything aligns so we can start the threads on the bolts. So I've jacked it up, see the block of wood, and you tend to find the correct angle is where the nuts are level on the top side, and then you should be able to start those. We have to give them a little tap in. Well, we're on both sides and we've got the ball joint aligned just to go straight up. It can be difficult using hammer taps to do it. So one thing I like to do is put a jack under there and it'll compress the suspension. So just managed to realign the ball joint, and it's a combination of good alignment and a bit of hydraulic pressure. You can see I've got the jack there towards the inside of the car. Now because it's on an arm, it's going to effectively move that way, which pulled the suspension in line as opposed to moving it away from the car. Well, that's the ball joint nut and bolt fitted, and we've got the wheel back on, and all's well. Many thanks for watching, and why not subscribe to learn of more low cost repair solutions.